Good morning, everybody. I made it back in time. Thankfully, it was a lighter piano, and it wasn't as bad as we were anticipating. So um, we get to do this after all. Some of you may have been previewing this particular coverage before on Too Strong. We had a breakdown of it on this week, and I figured I wanted to put my 2 cents on it here because it has a few things that occurred in the interview conversation that I think it's essential for us to cover, um, because it does have to do with this concept of salvation, but more so this new age idea of just stop something and you'll be good. What's up, Chris? Okay, so we're gonna listen to it. We're going to um, break it down a little bit, see what happens. Now, this is Jesse Lee Peterson talking to Kanye West. Apparently, Kanye West went to his meeting um, because of his friend, who is also under Jesse Lee's tutelage. And while I do not agree with some of the things that Jesse espouses spiritually, um, his approach to questioning people is amazing, and he's hilarious. He is hilarious. I'll give him that. So without further ado, let's see what he going to ado. All right, here we go.
Get a mic to the young man next to you.
Yes, sir.
Um, do you have anger?
Yeah, I think I'm the walking, living embodiment of anger.
I can't hear you.
The answer that Ye gave was, I am the walking, living embodiment of anger. When the question was asked, do you have anger? Kanye says he's the walking, living embodiment of anger.
What'd you say?
Yes.
Speak up for me.
Yes.
What'd you say?
Yes, I do have anger.
You do. Why don't you drop your anger?
Why don't you just drop your anger? Pretty easy question, right? People used to tell me this all the time. Just stop. just stop. And I, at one point, I thought it was that easy to just stop. I later realized you can't just stop for no reason. Just stopping is an option, yeah, of course. Cold turkey. But most of the time, when you stop doing something, you should be doing it for a purpose with a reason, more than just I don't want to anymore. And the difference between just stopping something and the life of Christ compelling you to a stop, massive difference, at least in my experience.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning here.
You learning what?
To drop the anger.
And so, what do you? Is this your first time here?
Yes.
And what's your name and how did you hear from about us?
My name is Jay. I heard about you from Hassan.
Right on. Any questions first about anything that you've heard or anything? Or working on yourself and all that?
No. none of
Okay.
me.
Why don't you drop the anger?
Oh, I'm deciding to do that after hearing this.
Oh, what would happen to you if you had no anger?
I could be used by God more.
Now, I get his delay in his question, because it is an interesting question. What would you accomplish if you had no anger? I mean, you could do a lot if you didn't have anger, but anger itself is not a problem. The use of said anger is the problem. There are tons of things that you should be angry about. The word says, be angry and sin not. So the anger side of it isn't the sin. The anger is not the sin. So to tell someone just to not be angry is kind of odd, because there is a use for anger. There is a definite use for anger. There's a place for it. There's an execution of it, and there is a negative spot that you can push anger to. So just dropping anger, I understand where they're phrasing anger from. They're texting it from a angry, hateful, destructive portion of anger. So I guess I get that. But anger itself is not a problem. It isn't a problem. Anger is not the problem. And I can see why Yace didn't answer right away. And you'll find this throughout his whole discussion. When asked a question, he just pauses for like super dead long. And I can almost see him and see his face trying to formulate an answer for him to make it either to satisfy the question or to satisfy the answer for himself. I can see that.
That's for sure. Do you know where your anger came from?
And that's another odd question. Do I know where my anger came from? Well, we know the source of all rage and anger, especially the type they're talking about. We know the source. You can point to a lot of things that happened to yourself, or this happened and this happened and that happened. Okay, and that causes you to be angry. But anger in the vein they're talking about is a symptom. It is a part and parcel, a result of the flesh. It came from the fall. That's a non sequitur. You giving in to said anger and doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff, that's different. But the anger they're talking about is a result of the fall. That's already given into that nature. So to ask where it came from, almost like you're trying to find a origin story. Not everything has just that trauma origin story.
How did you become angry?
How did you become angry? I don't know.
Just different events throughout my life that I felt were didn't add up, where 2 + 2 didn't equal 4. And the answer to why it didn't happen was just somebody just shrugging their shoulders.
So people being dismissive of him brought him to a reaction of being angry or having anger. Again, I understand the vein in which they're trying to phrase it, but a lot of it has to do with reactionary things. It's almost like they're not dealing with the core issue, which is the human nature, and they're giving into the human nature and not the submission to the godly nature. It's almost like they're trying to avoid that conversation altogether. It seems almost induced by my actions. What do I do now? How do I do this to change this? What action can I implement to give a different outcome? It's still an action. Yes, I think that's a normal thing. Sometimes it just happens, yes. I think there is an origin for your execution of a different type of anger. Let's put it like this. The human nature contains within it, at least the fallen nature. Let's call it the fallen nature, not human nature. The fallen nature contains every manner of evil within it, right? And because it has an innate leaning towards the evil and towards the sin and towards the dark, giving into it means your participation in that nature. The longer you participate in this nature, the longer, more exposure you have to it, and the easier it is to give in to said nature. Encountering the nature of God, however, you encounter a different catalyst altogether. You get what I'm saying? So you don't feed on some action to create anger and the origin thereof. You're no longer participating in the nature that would even give you the option of getting that type of angry. Now, again, this type of anger they're talking about is one that's life altering, constantly upset, acting in a way that is dangerous to yourself, to others. That's the type of anger they're talking about. Not like, say, someone blasphemes the Holy Spirit and you're angry at that. That's different. They're not talking about that kind of anger. Okay, that's the difference.
The last thing you say, what?
The answer to why the simple math didn't add up or it didn't go my way is that someone just looked at me and shrugged their shoulders.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
What have has Hassan told you you need to forgive your mother? Your anger came from her.
And this is where the differences between what Jesse believes and what the book says varies. I have no doubt that many men that grew up with antagonistic mothers come out a certain way. I have no doubt about that. But this general idea or concept that when you have anger as a man, it comes from the mother, or even as a woman, it comes from the mother, seems a tad oversimplistic. It almost relegates the being of a fallen man no longer your fault. But it is. You have to look at it from what you did perspective. Forget mom. You answer for yourself. Blaming everybody else is easy. Me being angry at my mom because of what she did, that is a me issue, not a her issue. I gave into my nature of being fallen.
No, I didn't hear that before today.
Are you serious? He didn't tell you that. What the? No. You're never going to be free until you forgive your mother. You become just like her. You become like what you hate, and the thoughts and the emotions and all that is hers.
I don't know about you become what you hate. I hate the devil. I don't think I become him by hating the devil. Um, I hate a lot of things that I don't become. People that hate God, do they become more like God? No. So I don't follow that logic. I get you might want to put it in the human realm, maybe. So if I hate my dad, do I become like my dad? Isn't that what the goal is, to not be like the mother? You see what I'm saying? So there is a disconnect there, and I do understand where he's trying to come from, but that's not how this works. Like, not even in the slightest. The truth of the matter is, if you say you're a Christian, a believer, there is only one instance that you can get that from, and that's the book. And if you don't like the book, then call yourself something else, but you're not what the origin of this whole idea is coming from. Either you believe it or you don't. I know many people say they're spiritual and all that stuff. Okay, good, be spiritual, all that stuff, great. But there's only one handbook, if you want to call it that. And the handbook hasn't contradicted itself. I don't care how many people think it does. It has not contradicted itself, not one time yet. So in that vein, it is by this very nature that you're born with that is in rebellion to God. There might be other things that bring that to the surface. Your mother might act a certain way that wakes up a certain behavior in you that lends to the fallen man. I can see that. People do something to you that awakens that action out of the fallen man. Yeah. But when you got the new nature, their actions have a completely opposite effect than it used to. I can't blame that on me hating something to become like it. There are tons of instances where I didn't like what my mother did. That had nothing to do with it. I was just rebellious. I have to get to this point where I have to own my stuff. Asking, forgiving my mom and forget all that. Forget all that. Where are you before God? Deal with that. Deal with that. That's what I want to hear him deal with.
That's why God said that all who were born of the woman must be born of the Father.
Is that what he said though? Is that what he said? Let's try and find that real quick. Let's find that for sure. Let's see. Nope, that's not there. Let's see if there's another one. Nope, not there either. I don't remember reading anything like that. Have you guys ever read anything like that? At all? I'm trying to rack because I told you people I'm not the smartest, one out there. My brain isn't the best. Um, I don't have the strongest recollections of stuff. Um, I know it mentioned that sin entered through one man, and Eve first sin, and then Adam. But I don't recall him making the sin of the woman of more import than man, and that's why you have to have birth of the father. I don't recall reading anything along those lines whatsoever. Um, again, if y'all know it, then show it to me. But make sure it's in context if you're going to show it. If you're going to show it to me. I just have not seen that before. I have not seen that anywhere.
So you got to forgive her for what she done to you when you were a little kid, impose her will on you, too mothering, too dominating, turning away from your father. You must go to her. It's when you can see that I do have this anger. I'm just like my mother.
No, you're just like the nature that you were born in. The nature you were born in is fallen. It will, by its own nature, if not encountered by the God nature, will give in to the things of the flesh. It's just a natural occurrence. Events will come your way if you're fallen, and reactions from the fallen place will come out of you. It's natural progression. The same way that if you're born of God, natural progression is when things happen, a different response comes because it's no longer your nature. The flesh is no longer your nature. God is your nature. So to blame somebody else because they did this when you were a kid, that was your nature when you were born into it, which is why when you come to a point of knowledge, right and wrong, you can be held responsible for the things you're doing. Which is why when you encounter the Spirit of God, it changes and makes you realize there is something innately wrong with me. There is something by nature wrong with me. That nature has to be put to death. But if you don't recognize that and blame somebody else for getting where you are, nah.
And you go to her, hey, mother, I'm sorry for resenting you.
So what does he do now that his mother is dead? He's in a little bit of a pickle if the idea is to go to mom and tell her, I forgive you. He can't talk to her now, right? Because she's dead. So internally somewhere, he has to just forgive this idea of his mother, forgive the history in his mind. And if that's all it takes for him to change, it seems kind of, I don't know. I've never heard that theory before. Never heard that theory before. That's a new one. The removal of that thought process comes with the giving over of your life to Christ, point blank, period. But that's assuming a lot. Look, I can say that he is definitely one that hated his mother, considering that he sacrificed her by his own admission, right? But is that the root of his issue? That's the biggest question. Is his dislike for his mother the root of Kanye's issue? I can tell you from what I've heard about him and his other addictions, it more than likely didn't come from mother. Yeah, yes. By his own statements, he said that his mother was sacrificed for him to get to where he got to. He said it, not me. He did. The root of our issue, if we, and this is part of it why we keep finding these random things to get upset about. If you cannot understand that every fallen individual before encountering God is inadequate to the walk that they're being called to, finding one problem or just one issue and that's the whole reason, no. So okay, so how do you know the mother is the root of the issue? How do you know that? That's my biggest question. How do you know the root of his issue is his mother or the mother? That's all I want to know. And biblically, where is that? Biblically, where does it say that the mother is the root of the issue? I'm saying, where did you get that idea from? I just want to know how you know that, because you speak as though it's for sure. And this is not me trying to get at you or nothing, not being combative or anything. I just want to know, because Jesse believes it too. So I just want to know how you guys know that, and where do I get that information from? Because I would like to see that information myself. I'd like to know how that became the root of everything. Because I have yet to read that in any scripture at all. I get that, but it says mother and father. So again, how is the mother the root of it? That's what I'm trying to get to. You with this discussion is not about that. It's about the mother. You said the mother is the root. How is the mother the root of this? And how are parents the root of it? Where does it say that in the word? Where does it ascribe blame to the parents as the root? There are tons of parents that do an immaculate job on their kids, and they still come out like crap. They still act like fools. They have there's nothing that could be seen that you parents did to make you hate them. Nothing. And they come out absolute trash human beings. How do you explain that one? How do you explain that one? And they're not the first to anger you. There are tons of people that angered me first before my parents did. What? What? I had friends that angered me. I don't get that. I mean, I'm trying to find out where in the word this is. I get psychology. I understand this might be psychology and stuff, but how do you show me that in the word? That's all I want to do. Show me your concept in the word. That's all I want. Prove it to me in the word. I can't go on anybody else. I can't go on psychology. I can't go on this guy. And I just want the word. Where in the word is it? Where in the word? That's all I need is the word. Just prove it to me.
You recreated me in your image, and I can't help myself. I'm just like you. I'm sorry for resenting you, and God will forgive you. Don't ask for forgiveness. You got to admit that you're wrong for judging. Anyone that has anger judges, and anyone that judges play God, and you will never know God. You'll know about him. You hear about him. You'll talk about him, but you won't know him. But you got to face your mother and forgive her. And your father for not protecting you from your mother. He didn't know how to deal with the hell in her. He loved you. He just didn't know how to deal with the hell in your mother because he married his mother.
But why don't you hold the father to the same that you're holding Kanye? Kanye should the father then forgive his mother, talk to the mother? So how, it's a cycle that you're creating in this conversation that's almost impossible to cure. It sounds like a lot of pointing to circumstance as opposed to nature, which is what the Bible talks about, not circumstance. It almost sounds like you're creating an idea, a concept of it being man that did this to you, not you being that and reacting out of it, and you need to change the point of place that you react from. I can't go with that one. I can't go with that one. And at this rate, he will always find something else. If something else happens, another issue will give him a reason to act another way. Then he just gets rid of that issue, then another issue, and he will never really tackle the nature that he has. The nature is what we have to come face to face with, the nature. So let's take a look at Matthew 6, 14 and 15. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the verse you brought up. Okay. Let's go to the whole passage first. Matthew 6. I want to make sure I get the right verse that you bring up here. Matthew 6, 14 and 15. Let's take a look. Right, let's go to the 8. Let's go to 8. Therefore, do not be like them, for your Father knows the things you need before you ask of them. In this manner, therefore, pray, Our Father, and this is where the prayer comes from. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Kingdom come, will be done. Earth is in heaven. Give us this day a daily bread. Forgive us our debts. Forgive our debtors. And do not lead us in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, power, and glory forever and ever. For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. Moreover, when you fast, do not be like the hypocrites with a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear to men to be fasting. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. So 14 and 15, you say, says about the mother. I don't see where that says anything about the mother and father. It says, forgive men, or your Father won't forgive you. That has nothing to do with the mother and father. Forgiveness happens as part of the nature of Christ, though. And you have to remember, Jesus saying this to them before he passes, it is before the implementation of the new covenant. The new covenant happens after his death. He's preaching about his kingdom right now. The introduction of everything, including the new nature, hasn't happened yet because he did not die to give you that new nature. The death he dies on the cross was the implementation of this nature. Beforehand, he was still operating under the law. So again, this does not show me the question I asked you about, which is, where does it say the mother or the father is the root of this issue? But no. But the question I asked you specifically was, show me where it says mother and father. And you said Matthew 6. It does not show me anything about that at all in Matthew 6. His point is still not valid. Okay, so we're supposed to forgive. Okay, good. We know that. We understand that. It would be great to forgive, and that is part of it. Yes, you forgive or you don't be forgiven. He said that to his disciples. He said that all through the book. Yes. And with the new nature comes the ability tenfold to forgive.
Your mother became his mother, as the cycle repeats itself. So you got to forgive him for not protecting you from her. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was digesting that from what people was talking about when they were talking earlier. I thought that was, I think I like this really stern black and white approach.
Yeah.
And it may, or I feel that I see clarity in it.
Well, there is clarity in it because you see something tangible. But whether it's tangible or not does not mean it's going to be of efficacy for the long term. You deal with one thing that you say is the source of your anger. That's what you say. But you're not dealing with the source of your anger. You're dealing with the source of one instance that you think catalyzed your anger. But your anger is really just an action that tapped into your nature, and you're acting out of your nature. Forgiving an instance won't cure the nature. Forgiving an instance never solves the whole thing. At all. The nature you possess needs to die. Not the instance, not an action. The nature has to die. That's why Christ gave his life, was to put to an end the nature that was begun in the first Adam. But if one does not see their actions stemming from where they are, nature-wise, they will link everything to an action. They will link it to an event. They will link it to this, to that, to the other, and they will never address the base issue, which is your born nature. You won't. And mankind will continue to do the things that they say, and it's a mistake, or an event did this to me, so I just get rid of the event, and the event, and the event, and it's not the event. It's not the event. It's your nature. As a young girl growing up, my mother always said, once we ain't part of the religion, once we ain't part of the religion, she can't be friends with you. That stuck with me, and she lived that out. Things was never smooth from that moment. I grew never to have that feeling for her. Am I still wrong? I'm a tad bit, I want to make sure I get this what you're saying correctly. Are you saying that your mother had issues with you being a Christian? If you can clarify what exactly the issue was, so I don't misrepresent what you mean by "are you still wrong," and about how you feel. Anyway, continue, Jesse.
Right on. And if you could see it a little bit, that God is allowing you to see it. I can't make you see it. No one here can make you see it. Only God allows those to see it who want to see it. He doesn't let everybody see it because most people don't want to see it. Most people love their misery. They love their thrills. They love their hell. One last quick question.
And I agree with that. There are tons of people who enjoy where they are. Okay, say for instance this. You don't have an anger issue. Let's say you don't have an anger issue. But you also don't see yourself as bad. You have most things figured out. You do things pretty good. You have an occasional misstep that you might call it. You're not a molester. You're not a person that's abusive mentally or emotionally. Um, you pay your taxes. You do your job. On occasion, you might be lazy. Um, you might get short with people once in a while. But overall, your life is going pretty good. What does a person like that need to do to be saved by this standard that he's offering? Technically, I'm already back with the Father because I'm not angry. I haven't done anything bad. I'm just a regular run-of-the-mill human being with no major issues. I don't have any big issues. Nothing that would actually consider people looking at me and thinking he's such a bad guy. They all think I'm cool. What about that person? Do you realize that that person, without the accepting of Christ, ends up the same space that a child molester does? Do you realize that that individual, for all as awesome as they are in their mind, will end up the same spot as a serial killer if not repentant? They will end up the same place as one who abuses women. It'll end up the same place as somebody who just beats kids. They'll end up the same place at the end of their life. You realize that? It don't matter how good you think you were on this earth, you're going to end up there with them. Because it's not about what you do. It's whether or not you exchange your nature for his. It's a matter of whether or not you gave your life over to him complete. That's the key. Even knowing he exists won't keep you from that position. It won't. I understand that people want to point to something. I get it because it's easier. But to what ends if something else pops up and causes you to go back into that area? Shouldn't that tell you that the area isn't gone? Just to find another catalyst to get you there.
I gotta move on. Who are you?
Now, here's a big question, right? Who are you? Who are you? He's taking the time to answer this one.
I think of a lot of things when you ask that. I come up with a lot of different answers.
Okay, and you give me those answers, some of them.
I'm a son. I'm a father. I'm a king. I'm a student. I'm a teacher. I'm a husband. I'm a leader. Those are the things that come to mind.
Yeah. So those are the things you do, but who are you? You name me all the stuff you do.
Can I cheat off his test?
What a mess. No cheating here, buddy. You told me what you do, and you have kids, what you have, and all that other stuff, but you didn't tell me who you are. Who are you?
I don't know what answer you're looking. I don't know how to answer that.
Did you know you didn't know who you really are before now?
Yeah, I must have been looking for something. That's why I pulled up to church, to the meeting.
So you didn't know that you didn't know who you are. Before now, you didn't know who you are. You don't know yourself. You don't know who you are.
Yeah, I think I have those titles like when you're talking about school earlier and people go to school and then I forgot you were talking with her about it earlier, and people go to get degrees to define themselves.
I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm a therapist. I'm the president. Okay, but who are you? That's what you do, dummy. But who are you? People don't know who they are. That's why they're lost. What is it like? Last question, then I got to go here. What is it like living a life not knowing who you are? What is it like living that way?
It's like my navigation today is kept rerouting.
Now, the who you are. The who you are issue can be answered in multiple ways to get multiple answers and be okay with the answers. The question of who you are will always come down to one of two things. Like Kanye said, a ability or a title, or I'm believing in Jesse's position, something that you innately are. The question is, you have not addressed who I innately am. So what are you speaking above when you ask who I am? Now, I know who I was. I was a fallen man. I know who I am. I'm saved. And I also know whose I am, which is more important than who I am. So in my world, I don't care who I am. I know whose I am. And from the time that I know whose I am, the actions I take thereafter is more fulfilling. I don't care what I am, who I am. I know whose I am. I know that my former self that people know me as is dead. That's what's gone. That's dead. So it's no longer a who. It's a whose now. I am no longer my own. It is very simple to me that I am no longer my own. I belong to someone else, and my every step is a whose I am, not a who. Which is why I have problems with the question itself of the who are you? Kanye can only answer based on what he's known, which is his identity in his activities, the titles he's given to himself. But having told him that he just needs to forgive his mother, how will he know who he is? It's kind of a new agey kind of idea. I belong to Christ. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live. As a human, I'm alive still. I still breathe air. Yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. I know that because now I know who I belong to. I know who I have believed, and I'm persuaded that he is able to keep me, which I've committed unto him against that day. I know whose I am. Until you belong to Christ, you also belong to the devil. Now you know who you are because you know whose you are. You belong to the devil until you belong to Christ. It's a whose you are, not a who. Not a who. It's a whose. And until you bring people to the mirror and have them recognize that that person that they see has to die, man, death, regardless of how small you think you did something bad or how big you think you did something bad, by its own nature, it cannot stand before Christ. It can't stand there. He has given you the options: die or stay where you are. As much as I appreciate the fact that Kanye is asking, he keeps going to people that I think are leading him to himself. Either Kanye, just do more stuff and that will run out of steam soon, or see that it's not you to blame, except for the fact that you need to forgive and you're good. If it were that easy, we wouldn't need the cross. If it were that easy, we would not need the cross. All Christ would have to say is just make sure you all forgive your moms and we're good to go. And he could just dip, live his life out, never have the cross, just die and go. If that was all it took. But last I checked, that's not what it requires for salvation and the exchanging of life. The cross means something. The cross is more than just a symbol on a wall or some kind of effort. It's more than that. The cross, and I'll keep saying this, is your transition from one life to the other. And if you go back and listen to the way Lonnie explained it, the cross is only big enough for you to come through like this. Best analogy, it's only big enough for you to come through. You can't come through with bags on your back. You can't come through with a truckload of baggage. You can't come through with all the stuff. All that stays on the other side of the fence. It can't come through with you on the cross. You leave everything. Because once you've crossed that line, you, as you knew you, is gone. The old you is gone. It's stripped away. Poof. But we want to keep bringing what we've had and blame that for the things we do now. No, I react out of the nature I'm in. We react out of the nature you're in. I want this to be as clear as I can make it, okay? The nature of God that he gave us access to is in and of itself one of the most amazing gifts you will ever get. The only valuable gift you can be gracious for, because it completely takes all of the burden off of you because you no longer exist. Straight up. But until you see the need for you to go away, you're going to think that I just have to do enough to not have to deal with problems. Okay. Galatians 2:17. But if, while we seek to be justified by Christ, we ourselves are found sinners, is Christ therefore a minister of sin? Certainly not. For if I build again those things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. For I, through the law, died to the law, that I might live to God. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself to me. I do not set aside the grace of God. For if righteousness comes through the law, then Christ died in vain. You saying that all you have to do to be right is an action is completely antithetical to what Christ told you has to be done. You are setting aside grace to try and accomplish something through law. You're accomplishing it through something that he has eradicated. His death ended the requirement of the law because he was the fulfillment of the law. Not everybody is going to be able to get that. I understand. Because we've been grown to say that we can do better, or there is an action that needs to happen in order to prove something. We always try to get for a symptom to lead back to a state when we have to deal with the state so that the state produces the symptom. We don't want to deal with the state. We want to deal with symptoms. The symptoms only reflect what's wrong with the person. Doctors don't just, I mean, of course, sometimes they will deal with symptoms. Unfortunately, a good doctor, though, will deal with the cause of the symptom so the symptom goes away. That's like having a gash on your arm and all you do is soak up the blood. The symptom of the cut is bleeding. So what I do, I'll just keep soaking up the blood. It's a pretty deep gash, but all I'm going to do is soak up the blood. Do you think the cut's going to go away because I soak up the blood? No, the cut's going to stay there. It's going to get infected and I lose the arm. I might die because I lose blood. Now, a good doctor will look at you and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. I get that you're wanting to stop the blood, but we need to get to where the blood's coming from so we can stop the bleeding altogether instead of just sopping up the blood. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch that up, sew it tight, let it heal so that the blood does not keep going, and then we'll clean up everything so there's no blood around you. The last verse I read was in Galatians chapter 2, in case people are wondering. Galatians chapter 2 from verse 17 onward. I did cover this some months ago, and it might be good to cover it again. But it is based on what the word says, and I'll go into it in probably another time, but we'll have to flesh it out some more. But it is a result of something that has already taken place with the Spirit. The baptism, external baptism, the water baptism, comes after the salvation of the soul by embracing that, saying, yes, I believe. There's a compulsion that almost comes with that. And it does happen. You do still do it, but it is not the salvationary part of it. It is the expression of your salvation. Your salvation happens in the spirit realm from the acceptance of Christ as your Savior. That the water is just a secondary portion of it. Necessary, yes, I believe, but does it save? No. No. I know plenty of people are going to say that's not true, but just show it to me that it's not true. So anyway, it is a representation of the burial. But the acceptance of that needs to happen because the nature has to die. I keep hearing people say, you just go down a wet sinner, a dry sinner, and you come up a wet sinner. I did that. I did exactly that. I got, when I was 12, I think it was 12. I was 12. I got baptized. I wasn't saved at all. At all. I did it because I wanted to stop my mom from asking me questions and stop the pastor from telling me I need to get baptized. So I did it. I just, okay, fine. Baptized me. So I got baptized late at night, 10:30 or something like that. We went down to some water and they put me under and then brought back up, and I was not saved. I didn't have a clue what I did. I wasn't saved. Not even in the slightest. I can't say yes or no. It depends. It depends on what the child knows. It depends on the mental acuity, what they have acknowledged, what they can acknowledge, what they're willing to acknowledge. It depends. I can't say that children should or shouldn't. Age of reasoning comes for different kids. There are some super, super aware children at 9 and 10 years old that are fully aware of their state before God. There are tons of them like that. Okay. Then there are those who they don't get it. They don't get it. So I can't say out blanketly, yes, they shouldn't, or no, that yes, they should. There are questions you can easily ask the child. Saying, oh, do you know Christ exists? Do you know about God? Do you love Christ? That's not the same as knowing that they should be saved. If a child can completely tell you the reasons why they should be saved, and they can tell you verbally and acknowledge that their state before God is unworthy, until then, that's a whole different ballgame. And there are kids that could do that. There are some adults that can't do that. So I don't think the age matters as much as the understanding does. I don't think as much as the understanding. There's quite a few ways that kids can come to a very base knowledge of things. And there are some children that arrive at the deeper things long before an adult does. But the easiest way to find out is to guide them through the scripture and see what they understand of it. You never know. Never know. But 2 and 3 year old, no. 4 or 5, no. Mm-mm. There has to be an acknowledgement of your state before Christ. That's pivotal, because otherwise you never understand what you're doing. You never understand what you're doing. There are tons of adults that don't, like what we just watched, that don't understand the difference between a changing of nature to just stopping an activity. And they really believe they're doing something wise. Should they be baptized? No, because they don't understand the reason for baptism. My daughter, she got baptized at 16. Did she understand? Fully. She knows about the nature exchange. My sons haven't gotten there. My 18-year-old finally got there, but he got there later in life. So no, there are certain questions you can pin to them and see without leading them on to the answers. Just ask them. For what reasons do you think you need to be baptized? Do you think you should be saved? There are poignant questions you can ask them. And you will know straight from the answer whether or not that is something that even remotely should be addressed. And then keep teaching them what's right. Eventually, what will happen, one of two things. They'll take to it, or the flesh will be strong enough to tell them, we don't need to die to self yet. And you have to leave them to God. But you've given them what you can. That's pivotal. Give them what you can. Give them what you can. Okay. Anyway, we'll be back Monday. Savage Patriots will be on today at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Sunday. Did I put up the link yet for Sunday? I cannot remember if I did or not. Let me check real quick if I put up the link 2 days ago. Yes, I did. So the link for the Zoom is up. Okay. The link for the Zoom on Sunday is up. Be great to see you all there. It's really fun to just be more than just this. It's a very interactory kind of thing. So hopefully you guys show up. Hopefully more of you show up. We've had, I think the biggest crowd we've had so far is about 16 people. We can hold up to 100. So come on, join the crew. Up to 100 would be nice. It'd be nice, real nice. It'd be good, real good. So hopefully we'll see you then. Otherwise, we'll see you this afternoon. What do you mean? New Hampshire? The time is at 4 p.m. Eastern. 4 p.m. Eastern, we meet. 4 p.m. Eastern. Okay, cool. So we'll catch you guys then. Scrolling at the bottom, if you guys feel compelled or pushed to, you've asked about and want to help with anything here, feel free to do that. There will be a time this summer where I'll be down maybe for a day or two because I'm trying to rearrange my surroundings and I might need some new stuff. We'll see how that works out. My daughter is supposed to be coming down to paint the basement for me. She's an artist, real good. So I'm trying to have her do her little thing and see how that works out. Yeah. Anyhow, we'll catch you guys then later today. Love you all, mean it. Have a grand rest of the day. We'll see you guys on Savage Patriots later today. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. Please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself.